My mother smiled at me in courtroom 4B like she was about to press a button and watch me break. My name is Marlo. I am 32, and I work in compliance for a healthcare tech company, which means my whole job is spotting risk before it ruins someone's life. Yet there I was, sweating through my blouse, staring at my own parents as they tried to convince a judge that my life belonged to them. Across the aisle, my mother sat perfectly upright, hands folded like she was at church. My father leaned back with that familiar look of offended patience, the one he used when he was about to explain why I was wrong. They did not look embarrassed. They looked hungry. Their attorney kept whispering to them, nodding like this was normal. Like it was totally reasonable to drag your daughter into court and demand control over her savings, her car, and the condo I had spent years scraping for. I kept wiping my palms on my pants, trying to stop my hands from shining under the fluorescent lights. The room smelled like old paper and stale coffee. Somewhere behind me, a woman's baby started fussing, then stopped the second someone shushed it. Even the air felt monitored. My lawyer, Kala, leaned in and spoke softly without looking at me. Do not react to them. Let them perform. The judge will notice. I tried to breathe through my nose. In, out, in, out. My mother turned her head slightly, just enough for me to see her mouth curve. Not a smile, a reminder. She wanted me to remember who she thought I was, her investment, her property. This whole petition was dressed up in polite language. Duty, responsibility, support. But the truth was uglier. They were claiming that because they raised me, I owed them a payback. They were asking the court to treat me like a walking retirement plan, to seize assets, to force payments, to put a leash around my throat and call it family. And for one split second, I felt that old weakness rise in me, the one I hated admitting existed. The little girl who used to think she could earn love by being quieter, smaller, easier. The bailiff stood. He lifted a thick binder from the clerk's table, and the room went so quiet I could hear the faint rasp of paper against paper. Quick real-life pause when I'm editing these late at night. I get tired, and your comments are what keep me going. Hit like, subscribe, and tell me your city, state, or country. All right, now let me take you back. When I was 5, my mother taught me a game. She did not call it a game, but that is what it was. She would hold up 2 things like a cookie and a book and ask which one I wanted. If I chose the cookie, she would sigh dramatically and say, "So you would rather be greedy than smart." If I chose the book, she would smile and say, "Good, see, you can be worth something." It did not matter what I picked. The lesson was always the same. My choices were wrong unless they served her story. My father's version of love was even simpler. Love was obedience. Love was agreeing with him. Love was being useful. In our house, money had a personality. It was not something you spent, it was something you worshipped. But only their money mattered. When they wanted something, money was fluid, effortless, urgent. When I needed something, money became a moral lecture. I remember the first time I asked for help with school. It was a field trip, the kind where everyone else came back with photos and souvenirs and stories. The permission slip was on the counter, and I had written my name in careful letters. My father stared at the paper and said, "Why do you need to go? The world is full of distractions. Do you want us to be broke because you want to see rocks in a museum?" My mother added, "If you keep asking for things, people will think you are spoiled." I was 8. I started telling my teachers I was sick on permission slip days. By 14, I understood something most kids do not. I understood that my parents did not see me as someone they were building up. They saw me as someone they were balancing against their own comfort, like a number on a spreadsheet that better stay in line. When I turned 16, my mother waited until the night I came home with my first paycheck from a grocery store job. I was still smiling, still excited, still stupid enough to think earning money meant earning respect. She did not even let me take my shoes off. "Hand it over," she said, like this was a normal tradition. I blinked. "What?" "Room and board," my father called from the couch without looking away from the television. "You live here, you eat here, you use the shower, you contribute." It was not a discussion. It was a rule that appeared the second I had something they could take. My mother set a notebook on the table and tapped it with her nail. She had drawn columns, dates, amounts, like she had been waiting. They took most of my paycheck. Not because they were struggling, either. They were the kind of people who had new patio furniture, shiny gadgets, and a pantry full of expensive coffee pods. But they kept our lights dim and the heat low because sacrifice sounded noble when they were not the ones sacrificing. I started hiding money the way other girls hid love letters. In the seam of an old purse, in a lipstick tube, in a hollow space behind a loose drawer panel in my dresser. I became the kind of teenager who listened for footsteps, who flinched at my own phone vibrating, who felt guilty for buying herself a sandwich. College was the same story, just louder. "You are an adult," my father said the day I got accepted. "We did our part, figure it out." My mother stood behind him and nodded like this was empowering. Like abandoning me was a gift, so I figured it out. Grants, loans, work study, night shifts. I learned to live on cheap noodles and exhaustion. I watched other students call their parents when they needed help, like it was the most natural thing in the world, and I felt like an alien. The worst part was graduation. My parents showed up late, dressed like they were attending an award ceremony for themselves. My mother cried loudly during the ceremony, the kind of crying that makes strangers turn and smile at her with sympathy. Afterward, she hugged me for the cameras and whispered, "Make sure you post the photos. People need to see what we accomplished." What we accomplished. That sentence stayed in my body like a splinter. After college, I got my first real job, then a better one. I worked hard and kept my head down. I built a life that did not depend on anyone's mood. I paid down debt. I saved. I learned investing like it was a language I needed to speak to survive. And then I bought my condo. It was not huge. 2 bedrooms, clean lines, a balcony that caught the sunset if you stood in the right spot. It was quiet. It was mine. I posted one photo, just one, of the keys in my hand. I did not tag my location. I did not brag. I just felt proud for the first time in my life. Within 2 days, my mother called like we had been best friends the whole time. "Oh, honey," she said, voice syrupy. "Your father and I are so proud. We should come see it. We should celebrate." My stomach tightened. I should have listened to that feeling. They arrived with a bottle of wine, and their entitlement polished to a shine. My mother walked through my living room, touching everything like she was checking the quality of a product. My father inspected the baseboards and made comments about the neighborhood like he owned it. At dinner, my mother sighed and said, "It's amazing what a child can do when she has good parents behind her." Kala, my lawyer, had asked me once what my breaking point was. I used to think it was the money they took, or the way they shamed me for needing anything. But the real breaking point was how confidently they rewrote my pain into their success. After dessert, my father cleared his throat and slid into what I called his courtroom voice, slow and certain. "We've been talking," he said. "We need to plan for our future." My mother nodded, eyes bright. They did not ask how I was doing. They did not ask if I was tired. They did not even pretend this was about reconnection. My father said, "You will pay off our remaining mortgage. You will help us replace the car. It's embarrassing. And you will send a monthly amount. We raised you. This is the least you can do." I stared at him, waiting for the joke. Waiting for the part where he laughed and admitted he was being ridiculous. He did not laugh. My mother leaned forward and said softly, like she was offering wisdom, "If you say no, people will see you for what you are." That was her threat. Not love, reputation. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I looked around my condo, the place I had built to be safe, and I realized I had invited the danger inside. I said no. The silence that followed was sharp. My father's face changed first, like a mask slipping. "Excuse me." I said no, I repeated, my voice shaking even though I wanted it to be steel. "You didn't raise me. You managed me. You charged me. You took from me. You don't get to show up now and demand more." My mother's eyes narrowed. "After everything we sacrificed." "You didn't sacrifice," I said, and my hands were trembling under the table. "You collected." My father stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. "Do you think the law doesn't recognize what we did? Do you think you can just walk away?" My mother smiled then, and it looked exactly like the smile she gave me in Courtroom 4B. "We will make you," she said. 6 weeks later, I was served papers in the lobby of my office building, in front of coworkers who suddenly could not meet my eyes. And now, sitting in that courtroom, watching the bailiff lift the binder, I finally understood the truth. They did not want my love. They did not even want my respect. They wanted my obedience, stamped by a judge. The bailiff opened the binder. My father leaned forward with that same triumphant posture he used when I was a kid, and he knew I could not escape the lecture. Kala slid her pen into her palm, ready. And I realized, with a strange calm spreading through my ribs, that I had not come here to beg for freedom. I had come here to prove what they did, in a language the court could not ignore. The bailiff cleared his throat, ran a finger down the first page, and began reading like he was announcing the weather, not the story of my entire life. Exhibit A, he said. Petition for parental support and reimbursement. Plaintiff's alleged defendant has the means to provide support and has refused. My mother sat with her chin lifted, eyes slightly wet, ready for the judge to look at her and see a victim. My father stared straight ahead like the courtroom was a stage, and he had already practiced his lines. Kala's hand rested lightly on my forearm under the table. Not comforting, anchoring. A reminder that I was here, present, an adult, not trapped in their kitchen. The bailiff turned a page. Exhibit B, he continued. Plaintiff's declaration of hardship. Their lawyer stood. Your Honor, if I may, we would like to highlight the emotional harm caused by the defendant's abandonment. These are elderly parents. They are frightened. They are struggling. And they are being ignored. He said it smoothly, like he was selling something. The judge did not react. She was a compact woman with silver hair pulled back tight, expression unreadable. She watched like she had seen 1,000 performances and was never impressed by volume. Kala stood when it was her turn. She did not raise her voice. She did not dramatize anything. Your Honor, she said, we are not here to debate emotion. We are here to debate facts. And the facts will show a long pattern of financial exploitation of my client, starting in childhood, continuing into adulthood, and escalating into this petition the moment she established stable assets. My throat tightened when she said it out loud. Financial exploitation. Exploitation was what happened to other people. I had always called it my parents being difficult, my parents being strict, my parents being old-fashioned. Numbing it made it real. Their lawyer smirked like Kala had just used a trendy word he planned to mock later. The judge nodded once. Proceed. The bailiff flipped deeper into the binder, and I felt my pulse jump, because I knew what was coming next. Discovery. The part that was supposed to be boring, procedural, neutral. The part where people like me, people who worked in compliance, lived and breathed. Paper trails, patterns, proof. The bailiff read the first inventory item, then the second. The condo, the car, my retirement account. Each line followed with the same cold phrase that sounded like oxygen. Purchased solely by defendant. No parental contribution. My father's posture began to shift. A tiny change, but I saw it. His shoulders tightened like he was bracing. My mother kept her face carefully arranged, but her fingers started tapping her knee under the table, quick and angry. Their lawyer leaned toward them and whispered, too close, too fast. My mother shook her head once, sharp, like she was scolding him. The bailiff kept going, page after page. And with every line, the story their lawyer had promised in opening statements started to crumble. Because the truth was never poetic. The truth was receipts. Then the bailiff paused. Exhibit C, he said. Evidence of minor wage diversion. My stomach dropped. Even though I knew it was in there, hearing the words made my skin go cold. The bailiff read, payroll records from Hawthorne Market, employment dates from defendant's 16th year to 18th year. Bank statements show recurring withdrawals consistent with 70% of wages, same day as deposit. Their lawyer stood again. Objection, relevance. This is ancient history and prejudicial. Kala did not even look at him. Directly relevant, Your Honor. Plaintiffs claim reimbursement for raising the defendant. We are demonstrating they treated her as a revenue stream while she was a minor. The judge's eyes shifted to the plaintiff's table. Overruled. Continue. My mother's lips tightened. For a second, her face slipped, and I saw what was underneath. Not fear, not embarrassment. Rage. The rage of someone who believed taking from me was their right. The bailiff read the next page. Exhibit D, he continued. Student loan documentation. Loans issued in defendant's name only. Tuition payments from defendant's accounts. No cosigners. No parental payments recorded. My father's face flushed. I thought of him, years ago, changing the channel while I stood in the doorway holding my acceptance letter, trying not to cry. You are an adult. Figure it out. Now his own words, sat in front of a judge like a confession. The bailiff reached another tab, then looked up briefly, like even he had to adjust to what he was reading. Exhibit E, he said. Recorded communication. My mother sat up straighter. Recorded, she hissed, not quite under her breath. Their lawyer's head snapped toward Kala like he had just stepped on a nail. Kala's expression stayed neutral. One-party consent state, Your Honor. My client recorded the dinner where the financial demand was made and the threat was issued. My heart hammered. The recording had been my idea, not because I wanted drama, because after that dinner, something in me snapped into the same mode I used at work. Document, preserve, protect. I had walked into my bedroom, locked the door, and turned on the voice memo app. I had put my phone in my pocket and gone back to the table with my hands shaking. I did not know then that I was collecting the rope they would hang themselves with. The bailiff pressed play on the courtroom audio system. My voice filled the room first, shaky but clear. I'm not paying your mortgage. Then my father, calm at first. You will, you owe us. Then my mother, that soft venom she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. If you say no, people will see you for what you are. Then my father again, louder, the same exact tone he used when he used to slam his hand on the kitchen table. Do you think the law doesn't recognize what we did? We will make you. The audio clicked off. The silence afterward was different from before. It was not just quiet. It was heavy. Like everyone in the room was trying to swallow at the same time. The judge leaned forward slightly. Mr. and Mrs. Hale, she said, addressing my parents by name. Did you threaten your adult child with legal action to force financial support? My father opened his mouth, closed it, then tried to laugh. Your Honor, that was a heated family conversation. People say things. My mother's eyes flicked to the judge, then away, like she could not bear to be seen doing something wrong. We were emotional, she said quickly. We were desperate. She was cruel. Calla stood. Your Honor, may I call the plaintiffs for examination? The judge nodded. Proceed. Calla walked to their table with the kind of calm that made me feel both safer and more exposed. She looked at my parents like they were a spreadsheet error she planned to correct. Mrs. Hale, Calla began, you testified in your declaration that you and your husband provided a stable home, emotional support, and financial foundation. Correct. My mother clasped her hands tighter. Yes, Calla nodded. At 16, when my client began working, did you request money for room and board? My mother's eyes widened slightly, like she could not believe she was being asked to admit it out loud. We taught her responsibility. Calla's voice did not change. Did you take 70% of her wages? Their lawyer stood again. Objection, argumentative. Calla turned her head toward the judge without moving anything else. Simple question. The judge stared at my mother. Answer. My mother swallowed. We took what was fair. Calla nodded again, like she was checking a box. Did you ever place those funds into a savings account for her? For college? For her future? My mother blinked hard. We used it for the household. Calla stepped one pace closer. Including the new television purchased that same year, as shown in plaintiff's own credit card statements. My father's head jerked up. That's not relevant. Calla's eyes slid to him. It becomes relevant when you claim poverty as the reason you need her assets. The judge's pen paused on the page in front of her. She looked up again, and something sharp flashed across her face. Calla moved to my father next. Mr. Hale, she said, you listed medical expenses as part of your hardship. Correct. Yes, he said quickly, like he had rehearsed that part. Calla held up a paper. You have insurance. The out-of-pocket costs you submitted are minimal, yet your credit report shows 2 recent luxury vehicle inquiries. Can you explain that? My father's jaw tightened. We were exploring options. Calla nodded as if that answer satisfied her, then pivoted, and I felt the room tilt. One more question, she said. Are you familiar with a personal loan opened at Riverstone Bank 4 years ago in my client's name? My father blinked. No. My mother's face went still, completely still, like someone had turned her off. Calla held up another document. Because this loan application contains your home address as the mailing address. It contains your phone number, and the signature matches yours, Mr. Hale, not my client. My breath caught. Even though I had known, even though we had prepared for this, hearing it spoken in court made my stomach flip. Their lawyer's chair squeaked as he shifted hard, suddenly not smug at all. My father's voice came out too loud. That's ridiculous. Calla's eyes did not leave him. The loan went into default, and the collection notices were mailed to your home. My client never received them. She only discovered the debt when she applied for her mortgage. She resolved it to protect her credit. She paid it with her money. My mother's lips parted slightly, and I saw a tremor in her chin, not sadness, fear, because this was no longer just a family argument. This was identity theft, sitting in a binder on a government table. The judge leaned back, slow, controlled. Mr. Hale, she said, are you telling this court you did not open a loan in your daughter's name? My father's eyes darted to my mother, just for a second, and that second was the loudest sound in the room. Calla turned, walked back to our table, and placed one final document in front of the judge. And Your Honor, she said quietly, there is something else the plaintiffs did not anticipate. Because my client works in compliance, she does not just keep receipts. She keeps timelines. The judge looked down at the page. I watched my parents stare at it too, like they could burn it with their eyes. And then the judge's face changed, just slightly, as she read the header. Emergency motion for sanctions and referral. The judge did not speak right away. She read, slowly, eyes moving left to right, then down, then back up again, like she was making sure every word landed exactly where it was supposed to. My parents sat frozen, the way people freeze when they realize the script has been taken out of their hands. Their lawyer leaned toward them, whispering urgently now, no longer confident. My mother barely moved her head, but I saw her lips form a tight, angry sentence. My father stared at the judge like sheer stubbornness could bend the room. Calla stood beside me, calm as ever, and I hated how much I needed her calm. I hated that my own parents had turned me into a person who needed a witness just to feel real. The judge set the motion down on the bench. "Mr. and Mrs. Hale," she said, "you filed a petition asking this court to compel your daughter to financially support you." "Correct." My father cleared his throat. "Yes, Your Honor. And you represented to this court that your financial hardship is the result of your daughter's refusal to assist you." My mother nodded quickly, like she was agreeing with a pastor. The judge's voice did not rise. It did not soften. "Yet the defendant has introduced evidence that you diverted wages from her as a minor, made no contributions to her education, threatened legal action to force money from her as an adult, and may have used her identity to obtain credit. Is any of that incorrect?" My father's jaw clenched so tight I thought I could hear it. "This is being twisted," he said. "She is twisting it." The judge's eyes shifted to Calla. "Ms. Calla." Calla stepped forward and placed a folder on the clerk's desk. "Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would like to enter the supporting documents for the sanctions motion into the record." "Proceed." Calla did not rush. She never rushed. That was part of the punishment, whether she intended it or not. My parents had always controlled time by making me wait, making me beg, making me panic. Calla controlled time by refusing to be pulled. She spoke clearly. The plaintiffs did not simply request support. They attempted to obtain leverage. When my client refused, they initiated legal action built on false declarations. We have evidence of material misrepresentation to the court, as well as evidence suggesting the plaintiffs committed identity-related fraud against my client in the past. Their lawyer popped up so fast his chair squealed. "Your Honor, I need to object. I was not made aware of any alleged fraud. This is outside the scope of what we prepared for." The judge tilted her head slightly. "Counsel, you filed this petition. It is your obligation to vet your client's claims." The lawyer's face drained. He looked at my parents, and for the first time I saw him not as their weapon, but as another person they had lied to. Calla continued anyway. She held up a document and turned it so the judge could see. "This is the original loan application from Riverstone Bank. The signature does not match my client's. The IP address used to submit the online form traces to the plaintiff's home internet account at that time. We have the bank's sworn statement confirming it. We also have a copy of a voicemail left for my client by a collector, which includes the plaintiff's home address, because that is where the account was tied." My mother's hand flew to her chest, as if she was offended by physics. My father shook his head hard. "That is nonsense." Calla looked right at him. "Then it should be easy to explain why your home printer produced the hard copy of the bank's terms and conditions, which was later found in a box of your own paperwork." I felt my stomach flip again. That box had been the real twist, the part that still made my skin crawl when I thought about it. 2 months before the lawsuit, my mother had called me late at night, voice honeyed and panicked. "Honey," she had said, "your father and I are reorganizing paperwork. We found some of your old stuff, your high school things. You probably want it." It had sounded harmless. It had sounded almost kind. I went to their house, walked into the same living room where my father used to lecture me about electricity, and my mother handed me a dusty box like it was a gift. That box was not a gift. It was bait, because the second I got home, I opened it and found my name on envelopes I had never seen, printed notices, credit offers, a folded loan statement, and a thin stack of papers that made my throat close. My social security number was on them. My birthday, my identity. My mother had been careless. She had given me the evidence by accident because she assumed I would feel too guilty to look closely, too trained to obey. But I looked, and once I started, I could not stop. Back in the courtroom, the judge's expression hardened. "Mr. Hale," she said, "do you deny submitting this loan application?" My father's eyes darted again, not to the judge, not to the lawyer, to my mother. And my mother, for the first time, looked scared of him. He swallowed. "Your Honor, I never meant to harm her. We were trying to survive." The judge's eyes narrowed. "So you did submit it." Their lawyer made a small, strangled sound. He stared at my father like he had just watched a bridge collapse under him. My mother's voice burst out, sharp and frantic. "He is confused. He is talking under pressure. None of this is fair. She is our daughter. She is supposed to help us." The judge did not flinch. "Being someone's parent does not grant you permission to steal from them." My mother's face twisted, and for a second the mask was gone completely. "She owes us," she snapped. "She always owed us." That sentence hit the room like a slap. Even the court reporter's fingers seemed to pause. I felt something inside me loosen, not because it stopped hurting, but because it confirmed what I had always known and kept trying to deny. My parents did not love me in the way I needed. They loved what they could extract. Calla took one more step forward. "Your Honor," she said, "there is one additional item. After my client refused their demand, the plaintiff sent her a message stating they would, quote, make her pay. We have that message. We also have a second attempt to open a credit card in my client's name, submitted 1 week after that message. The application was blocked because my client froze her credit the moment she discovered the old loan." My father's head snapped up. "You froze it." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw something I had never seen before. Not anger, panic, because for the first time in his life, he was facing a version of me he could not intimidate. "I did," I said quietly. My voice echoed strangely in that room, and I realized I had never spoken to him like that before. Not pleading, not arguing, just stating a fact. The judge set her hands on the bench. "This petition is dismissed with prejudice," she said. "The plaintiffs are barred from refiling these claims." My mother's mouth opened like she was about to scream, but no sound came out at first. The judge continued, voice calm and merciless. "I am granting the defendant's motion for sanctions. The plaintiffs will pay the defendant's legal fees. Additionally, the court is referring the matter to the appropriate authorities for review regarding potential identity-related fraud and abuse of process." Their lawyer exhaled sharply, as if he had been holding his breath for days. He began gathering papers with trembling hands. My mother turned to him, rage blazing. "Do something." He did not look at her. He looked at the judge, then at Calla, then at the floor, and said, "Your Honor, I am moving to withdraw as counsel." The judge nodded once. "Granted." My father stood up too quickly, knocking his chair back. "This is ridiculous," he barked. "She set us up." 2 deputies at the back of the room shifted, subtle but unmistakable. The judge's eyes pinned him. "Sir, you came into this court attempting to financially punish your child for refusing to be exploited. Sit down." My father sat, hard. The sound was ugly. My mother's shoulders started shaking, but the crying that came out was not the gentle sobbing she had practiced. It was furious, humiliated, wounded crying. The kind that says, "I cannot believe the world is not letting me win." I watched them, and instead of triumph, I felt something quieter, deeper. Relief. Not the relief of winning. The relief of being believed. The hearing ended. People stood, chairs scraping, murmurs spreading. Calla touched my arm again. "It is over," she said. Outside the courthouse, the sky was too bright. The air was cold enough to sting my cheeks, and it felt clean, like the world had been rinsed. My parents walked out behind me, not close enough to touch me, but close enough that I could feel their hate like heat. My mother hissed my name as we reached the steps. "You did this to us." I turned to her. I thought of every night I had eaten cheap food to save money they took. Every time I had apologized for needing normal things. Every time I had doubted myself because they trained me to. And I realized I did not need to defend myself anymore. "I protected myself," I said. My father stepped forward like he might say something worse, something final, but one of the deputies moved with him, and my father stopped. He looked suddenly older than I had ever seen him. Calla walked me to my car. My hands were still trembling when I put the key in the ignition. "You are safe," she said. "You did everything right." I drove away, without looking in the rearview mirror. In the weeks that followed, I did not post about it. I did not broadcast it. That was my revenge, the quiet kind they could not spin. I paid Calla's invoice, then watched the court order send the bill to them. I changed my number. I filed the reports. I froze my credit permanently. I set up alerts for everything. I locked my life down like a vault. Then I did something I never thought I would do. I slept, not the shallow, anxious sleep I had lived with for years, but real sleep. The kind that makes you wake up and realize your jaw is not clenched. Months later, when an unknown number called and my phone buzzed, I did not flinch. I let it ring. I made coffee. I watched the sunrise hit my kitchen wall. I did not owe anyone my peace. My parents wanted a court to declare I belonged to them. But instead, the court put their greed on record forever, and I walked away with something they could never take again. My own name, my own life, and my own freedom. The end.